What up, folks? Before we get into the video that's coming up here in a quick second, I realized that after recording this video that it would be valuable to include a template to the exact same resume template that I have used in the past to apply to the companies that I have applied for and the companies that I have secured a job with. So I uploaded that to Etsy.com. Again, link is going to be down below in the description box. If you need a resume template, go up there, download it, show your boy some support. That's what you need. All right, without further ado, let's get into the video. What up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, back in here with yet one more video. Brought a new guest into the building, Shif.
What's going up, y'all?
What's up, brother?
What up, man?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you stopping by today. I think that me, as well as the audience, is going to definitely benefit from the information that we're about to spit here today. All right, so without further ado, so I got a question not too long ago, one of my recent videos, by a loyal subscriber, Mishaps of Jane. I see you, appreciate you. Her question was, can you do a video on interview resume tips? I suck at both. So a very simple question, but honestly, this type of topic is something that can go on for hours.
Yeah,
we can talk about, but we won't do that. Yeah, it's a lot of information.
So much.
And she's asking about resume and interview tips, so we wanted to do that as well as to hop into some other topics as well that's kind of related in the space of being able to secure the bag. All right.
And the bag is important, right?
It's very important.
Yes, sir. The bag.
It's very important. You know what I mean? You know, this is, you know this, you've seen some of my videos, and you know, there's concepts of dating in here, right? Like, so I know really early in my career, I had set clear bag goals for myself and not women goals. And now that I look back on my life in my 20s and I'm in my mid 30s, we're both in our mid 30s. I look back and I'm like, damn, that was one of the best decisions that I ever made at that time in my life, was not to focus on the box, but to focus on the bag.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of times it just happens like by happenstance. Like when you graduate from college, the first thing you want to do is like go to some turn up city. Like, where am I going to go? Yeah. Like, I'm not really following the bag, I'm following the experience, but I think it kind of comes with time and talent and also opportunity. So that kind of gets you to where you are. But absolutely, you definitely follow the bag over the box. Hands down, 100%. Hands down, 100%.
All right. So focus where it needs to be focused at, all right? All right, but getting into the video right now. So, all right, man, so this is really an open-ended question. So resume tips, interview tips, where's the first place that you think will make the most sense to start?
So I kind of been in this recruiting organization, recruiting experience for like almost about 10 years now. So recruiting every company I worked for, and I worked for 3 top Fortune 500 companies. And I think the first place that you'll start is honestly with the resume. Your resume is you on a piece of paper, one page always. This you on a piece of paper is the first glance that anybody gets to see at you. You're selling yourself, your experience in this one piece of paper. Recruiters or people that are hiring managers probably only have about 10 seconds to look at your resume, because they're getting thousands of resumes for that one job requisite. So your resume has to be concise, has to be to the point, it has to have the major things that they're looking for before they swipe. Think of it like Twitter, swiping left and swiping right. You don't want to get swiped left.
Right, right. So you said one thing in there that raised a memory in my mind. There was a point in time where my resume dipped into 2 pages, and then I got some coaching that it should just be 1 for the reasons that you say right here. Like, if you're standing at a career booth and you have someone in your resume, they're not going to be looking through 2 pages. I mean, they're looking for buzzwords.
Right.
Can you talk towards what's the best way to get buzzwords? Now, when we say buzzwords, it's like words that are relevant for the industry or the job that you're trying to get. It generally, whether or not it's a human reviewer or it's a computer reviewer, they're looking for certain words in order to see if who you're trying to present yourself as makes sense for the particular position.
Yeah, so buzzwords need to be out throughout your resume. It's a few things to look for. Look for strong academics, then we look for experience, and then depending on what level of your career that you're applying to, like if you're in college, we're looking for your leadership skills on campus, what you've done, what leadership positions you've held, what made you a well-rounded person. And I think more from experience level, you won't have more so those leadership skills on campus. Those will fall off after, maybe maybe your first 3 or 4 years in profession, but then it's more of what did you do? What else did you do external to your job, or what else did you lead external to your job at work? Like, were you in diversity and inclusion? Did you lead any BRGs while you're
BRGs?
Your business resource groups? So like they have affinity groups for people from diverse backgrounds, like for Hispanics, for Blacks, for LGBTQ, for male vets, like people with disabilities. There's all types of business resource groups, BRGs, that companies have. So we're looking at on the resume, like what made you a well-rounded person in your profession, not one coming straight from college.
Right. So you should talk about it from the perspective of a business resource group within your company, but also for the folks that are in school. You know, what associations are you volunteering with that are associated with your school? You know, I think back to my undergrad experience, and I mean, I pledged a fraternity, so I can always add stuff within that. But then also outside of that, I really didn't do much. I mean, I did a lot of video game playing with my free time. And I'll keep it funky. I'll keep it 100 with you. But when I started to get out to the place where I was handing out my resume, man, at that stage of my life, it was like a lot of blank space. Like I was putting in filler words in order to make it extend.
Fluffing the resume, what we call it.
Oh, I was a super fluffer.
Fluffing the resume, yeah.
I was a super fluffer. But you know, going back to the buzzwords for just one quick second, one of the tips that I can kick off to you guys is like, when you're looking at the position that you're interested in, you can get the buzzwords right from that position, right from that job description. You'll start to see words in there that you can be able to take out and just insert right into your resume as well. Yeah. So, you know, so I think that's a way to up your buzzword ante.
And make sure that those buzzwords are transferable. Like, I'm one of those people, I don't believe in having 500 resumes for every, like having one resume for every job you apply to. I'm one of the one resume type guy. Have one resume, but make sure that it shows your transferable skills, meaning that if you're a business student, you're applying for a finance job, it can carry over to a marketing job or a business ops job or any type of job like that. But those buzzwords, you're selling yourself inside of your experience and what you can actually do.
So, you know, another thing I wanted to double back into kind of the importance of those extracurricular activities. You know, again, I didn't do a lot outside of my fraternity at the time that I was in undergrad. So like, and that's definitely one regret that I had as I, you know, was creating my resumes. There wasn't a lot to write. So I'd implore all you guys, whether or not you're in an undergrad institution or you just left high school and you're just working in your city, think about how you're using your time. Think about the things in the investment that you're placing within yourself, right? Taking time out of watching TV all day on a Sunday to volunteer somewhere. And then you can write that on your resume and then you can talk to that. You seem like much more of an well-rounded person and an awesome candidate. If you can talk to things that you do outside of what you're required to do.
I was on the opposite end. I did everything. Like, I was in student government. Was in a fraternity. I was in other clubs, organizations. I kind of took advantage of the entire student life. I was like super guy. Like, you know, shouts out to family. You know, that taught me a whole lot of things that I was able to talk about. Because that's typically things you talk about in your resume. I always tell students that a resume just means you can learn. I mean, a degree just means you can learn. That's what your degree means. It just means you know how to learn. Most people follow passion, and that passion kind of takes you to where you kind of want to work and what you kind of want to do at a company.
Facts, yo. All right, so listen, so we're going over this resume stuff. You know, what about specific to writing a resume? You know, I think is a whole different type of topic other than what should, like, you know, how should it be structured out or what have you, like education or professions or volunteer work. But like, any tips that you give for like actual writing of a resume?
The best tip is that it needs to flow and things need to be easy to find. Like, when you're going through, like I said, you only have seconds, like less than a minute, like 30 seconds at most to look at a resume, determine if you want to go to it later. So you need to have like your name, contact information. If you want to have a little objective at the top, that's fine too. Where you went to school. If you're still a student, put your GPA on there. If you're a graduate already, just put when you graduated. Then you go into your work experiences and talk about who you worked for, what position you held, what you did, where you were, the time frame. Have all those normal those normal points on the resume, and then you kind of go down into maybe a skill section and that can be at the bottom or at the top. It kind of doesn't matter, especially if you're a professional. You put a skill section in there, and if you're still a student, then you also, that's where you're towards the bottom is where you add extracurricular activities, leadership experience you held on campus, volunteerism, those type of things that you'll talk about most likely during the interview process.
Right, and even down there at kind of the assets and interest level is what I like to call. That's usually down all the way at the bottom of the resume. You know, you'll put like your certifications, you'll put other volunteer activities. Sometimes I also sneak something in there to draw up conversation. Like I used to put, I haven't had to use my resume in a long time now, but when I was using it, I put snowboarding. You know, I like to snowboard. And I'd add that one down there just as a conversation piece. Now, it's just a couple of characters of space. Like, if I felt like if I wasn't out of space, I want to put something out in there. But it's a fluff item. But I've gotten mid-interview, oh, I see here that you're into XYZ. And then that starts a whole conversation. So that's
probably because you're black, you put snowboarding. That's like,
and it's so outside of the right. But it shows my ability to stretch.
Touche. Like, on my resume, I always have at the bottom, I have a secret clearance. Because my first job out of college, I had to have a secret clearance to do the work that I did when I was working out of college, and that always sparks the conversation. So to his point, that is true. So, but just make sure it's something relevant, something you can talk to if you're going to have in there. But that's if you have space. Fluffing isn't always great, but you definitely don't want to have white space in your resume. So if you have to fluff. But if you have the time to get things on your resume so that you don't have to fluff, meaning extracurricular, leadership, volunteerism, do those things so you can have things to talk about, and employers can see how well-rounded you are.
Now, can you talk towards the importance of LinkedIn and all of this stuff? You know, when we were going through our first round of interviews, you know, coming out of undergrad, there was no LinkedIn. Like, there wasn't social media to the degree that it is right now. Can you talk about that impact and how people should manage their LinkedIn?
For sure. Your LinkedIn should be an extension of your resume. Everything that's on your resume should be in LinkedIn, but LinkedIn asks for more characters, things like that. Recruiters are able to go inside of LinkedIn and actually source you from LinkedIn using those buzzwords that John talked about earlier. When they type in those buzzwords, they'll pull from a search engine, and LinkedIn kind of finds people for them, and they're able to go through resumes based off of geographic location they're looking for to be able to pull people and invite them to apply to roles if they're doing it that way. Another one is Handshake. That's more specific to colleges and universities. So if you're a student and you have Handshake, make sure your profile is updated. A lot of jobs are on Handshake and specific to a university or a particular company where you can go and find those jobs and apply to them. So Handshake is definitely one for college university students as well as LinkedIn, but professionals, 100% LinkedIn, because that's where recruiters and headhunters go find you based off of the data and what that you have on LinkedIn.
Got it. All right, now let's segue into, and I heard you say application or applying. So you got the resume, you know, and also one thing to hit on too is don't be scared about getting a resume writer. There's a lot of resources that are available online that if you're really having trouble with coming up with the things to write on a resume, get some professional help, and they will coach you through, right? They'll interview you, see the thing that you're interested in, and they will coach you through and in some cases completely write it for you based off of kind of what it is that you're looking for, where you're at in your life. A lot of executive recruiting, they're not writing their own resumes. Like, they're going to resume writers.
Go to resume. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't recommend that for someone like straight out of college or someone who's like a few years into their profession. But if you're like an executive level hire, definitely make sure you go get a resume writer. It's a lot of websites do that. I use Fiverr. That's a good one that does that. But definitely go get somebody to write your resume for you professionally.
So then also, getting into the application perspective, right? So you got the resume, it's all nice, shiny, cleaned up. Now you got to apply, right? Now it's different. We have the internet, so you can go, you can apply through the black hole of different internet sites where you apply, you don't know what can happen. You know what I mean? Create profiles. And any tips for the straight up cold approach application process?
Just do it. I mean, the only thing they can tell you is no. A lot of when it comes to college and universities, a lot of companies have gone away from the on-campus presence, and it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. So, for instance, if you want to work for Nike and they don't come to your campus, which is a good chance they're not going to come to your campus, especially if you're on the East Coast or down south. So, go to Nike's website and apply. Only thing they can tell you is no. But they're just because they don't come to their campus doesn't mean they're not looking for you. They just have a virtual presence. They don't have an on-campus presence. So definitely do that. And the same thing for professionals. You have to go seek employers. So if you're not going to the conferences are your best friend. If you're National Black MBA, NABA, NSBE, Thurgood Marshall, any of those conferences, specifically those for diverse candidates like that, go to those conferences. Companies invest a lot of money into those diversity outlets looking for talent like you. So go, make sure your resumes together, pay that, like invest that $100, $200 into going and go get you a job. Go secure that bag.
Go secure that bag. All right, so specific to some more of the warm approaching, which you know we talked about a second ago, which is at a conference, at a career fair, right? I've stepped into National Black MBA 8-9 years into a row, and it's one of the most surreal experiences. I mean, I want to say last year there was over 10,000 people in total between companies as well as applicants that are involved in this career fair. I want to say that's it's extreme. It's on the largest. I think it's the largest recruiting conference
for diversity. Yeah, I think for diversity specifically, I think so. The last couple of years, I think they have combined their talent with Hispanic, the Hispanic MBA conference. So
Prospanica.
Prospanica. So Prospanica and National Black, they had merged the last couple of years that I was there. So now it's even bigger. So you have companies like, hey, I can kill two birds with one stone, for lack of a better term. I can get Hispanics and black students all in one building. We're going.
And it's a big bang for their buck, right? Because they don't have to piecemeal at other campuses and universities because it can be more expensive. And I'll leave links in the description for like all of these spots, so you guys are not like, what do you say, Prospanica? How do you even spell that? I'll leave links down in the description box down below so you guys can begin to start to research these things. All right, so but specific to it's day one, recruiting fair starts. Anything to share as far as what you take out of applicants that come up to you and start talking to you that you feel like would benefit folks that are hearing this?
Day one is too late. So day one should be like
it's real.
A month and a half before the career fair actually takes place. Like it is a process. Like I always say, finding a job is a full-time job.
Right.
One of my good friends, she always laughing at me. She was like, if it's one person that knows how to find a job, it's you. Talking about me. So like it's a process. It's a full-time job. And I didn't say in the beginning, but definitely check me out on the careerplug_ on Instagram. The careerplug_, and I'm putting tips and tricks out there about how to secure a bag, how to land your career, and things like that. And if you have any questions, definitely DM me and I'll post about that. But you should start the process about a month and a half before. Go online, see what companies are going to be there, see what jobs they have open, see where they're going to be in the building, like print out the layout, like so because you need to apply to these jobs to get the screening interview, so you can try to get an interview on site during the 2 or 3 day conference while you're at the National Black MBA or NSBE, what the case may be. So definitely do that pre-work. It's going to be a lot of phone screens. That's fine. If you're already employed, that just means you gotta find time to carve time out your normal day schedule to be able to go to another office and take that phone screen, so you can try to get that try to get that interview on site at the location. So now, after you did all the phone screens, say you have 10 interviews. So now you have 10 interviews on site with companies that you pre-screened for, and then there's like 15 companies that you want to see while you're there. So now you have to map out where everyone is, like literally map out, all right, I see LVMH, they're over here in the South Wing. I see JP Morgan Chase, they're over here, or I see Procter & Gamble, or I see McKinsey & Company. Like those, now you kind of map out where you need to go, how long you're going to be there, and get there early as possible so that you're there while the recruiters are fresh, they're not tired, they're not duressed. Definitely don't go to a career fair at the latter part, because by that time they're tired of talking to people. They
won't remember you.
Yeah, they won't remember you. They're just trying to get the hell about it at that point in time. Like, so go early as possible, but remember, keep it back in your mind, you have those interviews. So try to get the interviews later and be at the career fair earlier so that you can meet new people, maybe get more interviews, and then you have time in the latter part of the day to go to have your interviews, and now that expanded the amount of interviews you have during the conference, and increases your probability of getting a full-time job offer before you actually leave.
Yeah, and the earlier that you go as well, the more interview slots that are available.
For sure.
Right, so you have to play that in your mind as well. Like if it's later in the day and they only have 2 more interview spots left, you are competing with everyone else at that time. There's only 2 slots left. So the earlier you go, they're like, well, yeah, he's like a 2 out of 3, but he seems pretty cool. Let me put him up tomorrow at 8 a.m. So the earlier that you go, the better.
Yeah, that was a good point on interview slots. That's why preparing a month and a half in advance is better, because if you have an interview spot, can't nobody take it. Like, you're already on paper, right? You're done. You're solidified. You just got to go there and perform at that point in time.
Right. And one other tip I wanted to share too is when you walk up to that booth, this is sales. You're selling yourself. What type of sale happens if you don't ask for the sale? Like, imagine you're walking into a phone store and you're walking in, and someone says, how may I help you? And you just start rambling about how good of a conference that it is, or how good the store looks, right? You say, I want a phone, right? When you're in front of these recruiters, you're selling yourself. Say, this is me, this is who I am. You got to have your elevator speech ready, which is like 15 or so seconds of who you are and what is it that you're trying to do and what can you give to a company. You have that memorized. You say that, you show that you're hungry, but then you say, are you guys interviewing today or tomorrow? I would love to be on that interview slot. Say that. I can't count the amount of times where I've been sitting and talking to someone about our company, and it's 45 minutes later. I sit there and talk to you all day. I'll let you know whatever it is that you want, but meanwhile, while you're talking to me, you have just missed interview slots at other companies, right? Like, because you're wasting time with me. Another thing is that what you'll see at these conferences, there's, you come across one booth and there could be 50 people at one booth. Not all 50 people are hiring.
Right.
They're going to have floaters there to help, talk about the company. They're, what I like to call propagandaists, right? They'll tell you how awesome that the company is. But they're not hiring. They're not recruiting. There's usually going to be select people around the booth that are the decision makers. Your goal is get as close to decision makers as possible. So it might be talking to one of the floaters that you've identified as a floater and say, hey, I'm looking for a career in IT. Who's making decisions here for information technology? And then, they'll point you to the right person and you'll be like, thank you. Have a nice day. And then you go continue that conversation, or you ask for a warm transfer to that person. Yeah,
the warm transfer is the best one to get. Like, if you talk to a floater, for lack of better terms, and they look at your resume, you're like, oh, wow, this guy would definitely be a great person to talk to. My colleague who is a hiring manager in this particular department, they will walk you over and cut the line of the people, because typically it's probably a line of people trying to talk to that one person who's an important person. So that floater will take you over to cut that line, like, hey, you need to talk to this guy or this girl.
Right. All right, man. So we've gone through resume, we've gone through career fairs,
interview tips, all those things.
What about? No, we really didn't do interview tips. Right? Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah, we got a little list down here.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we hit all these points. So interview tips. So let's say you get that career spot, or I mean the interview slot. Wake up bright and early, go in there, 8 a.m. What are some of the things that you've seen as you've interviewed people that has put someone a cut above the rest?
Well, one clarity, sometimes you can interview on the spot. So be careful what you ask for, because somebody might be like, hey, I got time right now. You got time to take an interview? So you walk behind the curtain and you go to the interview section of the career fair and you're interviewing right there on the spot. So you need to always be ready. Like, don't have to get ready, be ready.
Be ready.
But in the case that you do wake up for an interview and you have time to prepare, like just 3 things to prepare for. Make sure you always have some pocket answers to the questions they're going to ask. Like, tell me about a time when you did something, or tell me about a difficult situation, or tell me about a decision you made. Those questions are questions that the interviewers want to see what you did. So we always say answer in the STAR method. So situation, task, action, and results. So, and it's all talking about what you did. So the situation is what happened. The task is what was the task of the group, or what you were tasked to do. Actions, what actions did you do? And the results. So, and what the results of what you actually did. So that's how you should always answer the question, so that interviewers are taking notes properly and can really document exactly what you did.
Just real quick, that STAR method, please make it time bound. It should be 90 seconds-ish, around there. if you feel yourself starting to ramble on and on and on, that means that for that question, you didn't do enough preparation.
Yeah.
Your story should be nice and consistent and relevant and to the point, and it stays to that framework.
Yeah.
It's really important that you're not skipping around. Like, imagine someone's telling you a story and then they start saying something in the middle of the story, then they go to the end of the story.
Don't go on tangents. Yeah, don't go on tangents. Don't go on tangents.
No, you need to prepare and
be concise and to the point.
And to the point. Let me tell you just real quick how prepared I was during my time. I had a book. I called the book Behavioral Interview Questions.
Was it a little black book?
No, it wasn't a black book. No, it was actually blue, and I still have it, actually. It's one of those relics because I spent hours upon hours like in this book, but like I would write down all of my stories, right? So like I would Google behavioral interview questions, like the hardest ones, the most difficult ones, like things like if someone asks you right now, tell me about a time that you encountered an ethical situation. What did you do in that? If someone just asks you down the spot, you can be you might just lose it right there. Be like, you know what? I give up. Let me go try this again another day.
Unless you got the gift of gab. If you got the gift of gab. Some people do. Yeah, if you got the gift of gab and you talk confidently, they don't know if you're lying or not. You just got to get something out there.
You got to get something out there. Yeah, but at the same time, or not, you go prepare book.
Touche. Always prepare.
Yeah. So like I went through it. I had so many stories written in this book. I want to say it was like 50, 60 stories. And I memorized it to the effect of like literally as they would ask me a question. And listen, I had a story for every single question that I ever Googled on behavioral interview questions. And I had an answer. Or I could take a pre-existing answer and then bend and mold it to how it is that they asked it. But I can literally, as I was answering the question, in my mind, I'm reading the line of the page that it's on. Like that's how committed to memory that I had it. Because I had it's funny. It's like we talk on cameras right here, but like I sometimes I get anxiety and I tense up in the middle of someone asking me a question, that has so much writing on the line, it's your future on the line. Sure. You know what I mean? So then, when you get that anxiety, sink or swim, my memory starts to leave me. You know what I mean? But unless you commit it to memory, you won't have to need that freestyle memory. So.
Yeah, but that's actually good because there's some interviewing, like specifically, like there's some companies that might interview you like 7 times. Like you have a day that you're interviewing like with 5 to 7 people back to back to back, and they're going to compare notes about you. Mm-hmm. So if you're using the same story and over again, when they compare notes about you, then it's going to come off like, okay, maybe this person isn't the best fit because they're giving everybody the same story and over again. So everyone has a lot of experience they can talk about, but if you don't commit to memory, like John just said, then in an example like that, then you're probably going to sink.
You're probably going to sink.
Yeah, you're probably going to sink.
All right, so now we're at the interview. And that's pretty much it, right? Is there much else after the interview? So you also talk too about super days. That's what I usually call them.
Yeah, super days.
They'll invite you to campus, to the home office, and then they'll go through like 7, 8 interviews, and I'll have it all structured and set up. So we even went through that.
Yeah, super days are important. Every interview you have is important. Super days could be a 1 or 2 day thick conference where they fly you out to some location, interview with that line a bit, interview with that company, and learn about the company. Definitely just make sure you take advantage of that. And I think when you're looking for companies to work for, be mindful that the position you're applying for might not be the one you want, but it can be the foot in the door to get where you're trying to get to. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Cast your net and be open-minded when you're looking for a role, because it might not be that one role you're looking for, but it can be your step into a company to get the role that you want.
That's huge right there, bro. And I also wanted to add on top of that is, they're interviewing you just as much as you are interviewing them.
Questions. Right? Have questions at the end of the interview. You should always have a pocket full of questions you ask. Interviewers love to talk about themselves and what they've done, so that's a tip right there. But you also want to do some research and ask them some thought-provoking questions that will make them know that you've done some research about the firm. Some good topics are typically like sustainability, maybe what's going on in political affairs. A lot of companies where specifically like companies like Apple or other companies that we're getting things offshore, like from our countries like China or the APAC region, like what is going on in the political realm that could cause like friction with their business or cost them some type of negatively reporting on Wall Street for the next quarter.
Right. It's something that, perhaps it's a real quick Google search before you go in there. If you're at these career fairs and you got 15 companies, you may not be remembering the last thing that particular company has had in the news about it. So just look something up real quick. If you can ask something about the company, and sometimes you're asking something that they don't know the answers to, and they might be like, oh, that's a really good question. It's something, and then you can have a dialogue, and you can put in your own thoughts to it, and then they can start to see how you think.
For sure.
So I think that's a very important point, bro.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, so let's say you accept the offer. Kind of the big step after that is salary and negotiations.
Yeah, well, that's once you accept the offer. So yeah, once you accept the offer, like you said, I take that side because it's kind of you can sometimes put yourself on a double-edged sword because they might want you. Like if you get an offer, they want you. Hands down, they want you, right? But the question is, are they willing to pay you whatever you want them to pay you in order to keep you? Coming out of college, you know, if you have a slew of offers, say you have 4 or 5 offers, you can use them as leverage to kind of try to get more money. I always say get more salary than bonus. Bonus is definitely going to, it's a gift. It's going to be taxed about 40% and it's not recurring. So if they try to like, well, we'll give you more bonus. Hell no, get the salary. Get the salary.
And the inflation, you know, the year-over-year inflation affects salary.
Absolutely.
Doesn't affect bonus. Right?
Absolutely.
So and if you're in it for the long haul, you want to think about that.
Yeah, definitely. So get that in salary. But at the same time, while you're negotiating, that company can be like, well, we want you, we can't pay you this, so it looks like we're at an impasse and we're gonna go with someone else. So you have to understand, like, don't go in there just guns blazing. Like if you don't have a backup plan, or you go in there like, I need 10 grand more, they can just be like, no, and rescind your offer. You know, now all of a sudden you're stuck out there without a job. So you have to be mindful about that when negotiating salaries, that you have to, one, make sure you actually do have something to leverage, and that, you know, you're taking that risk, that this risk might cause me not to have a job, and I got to work double hard to get one before I graduate.
Right. And I say, you know, don't just throw out numbers just to be throwing out numbers. You know, have more of a data-based approach, right? Like, you know, whether or not it's looking at, you know, the particular market or the geographic location of the job, of the particular job and the career path that you're interested in. Also taking a look at your educational experiences, as well as your work experience, and really try to make that case, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just a, you know, like, you know, I think I'm worth this, but why? You know, being able to answer that why, and then having some data on, you know, you have Glassdoor.com, you know, Indeed.com, which provides you data and resource as
LinkedIn's doing that now too.
Salary.
Yeah, LinkedIn is doing it now as well. Yeah.
Which is key.
So one more thing about negotiating on the job, John just talked about it, about knowing the market you're going to. Be smart about what the benefits are. So say if you're in college and you have a friend that's working for the same company, but they're going to go work in New York or something like that, and you're going to come work in maybe Chicago, they're making more money in New York than you are. Like, well, I want to be in New York because they're making more money. No, that's not how that works. New York is a fun city, so is Chicago, so is Columbus, Ohio. Who cares? Just know there's a cost of living adjustment, so be mindful of that. So just because they're making 100 grand in New York City, their bills are about 30 to 40% higher than yours will be in that city. So you have to be smart about that when you're talking to companies about, well, I want a location change. I'd rather be in this city, be in that city. And in the back of your mind, it's only because of salary. But be mindful of that cost of living change, because living in a city like Columbus, Ohio, or Dallas, Texas, or Houston, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia, is so much more cheaper than living in a city like Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York. So be mindful of that.
And there's salary adjustment calculators that are easily Googleable, right? And then you can see based off of your baseline, which is the city that you're in right now, and then wherever the company city is in, kind of how much more money do you have to make to have the same kind of standard of living.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, one thing I want to also touch on before we depart, bro, thinking through gaps in your history, right? Because I've seen in your work history, because I've seen this in the past, and I've actually been in the room where we have not selected people because there's unexplained gaps.
Yeah.
Right. Can you talk towards unexplained gaps and what people can do to help rectify that?
Yeah, it's really you have to be able to justify why you have a gap in history, else employers will automatically assume that you were fired from a company. Most likely they'll assume you were fired, something like that. So even if it's you took time to go off and raise a family, or you took time to go off and try to do a startup and start your own business, whatever the case may be. Just make sure you're able to justify that inside of your resume or via conversation, so that it's there and they know why you actually took that time off and it wasn't because you were fired.
Right. You know, one that I've heard in the past is, you know, sick family members as well, you know, that you stop to go take care of, right? So, you know, just make sure that you have reasons as to why there was a gap within that. I think you can self-select yourself out without having that explained. Now, at the same time, you can't really write things like that in your resume. So, you know, if you get to the point where you can provide that voiceover, just make sure that it's really clear as to the reason why. You know, one other thing I want to go over too is, I noticed that there's a lot of dudes in my comments that are active military. So, and I think like a lot of folks that have are in that path and maybe not want to do it anymore. They're trying to get into, you know, the workforce from like a corporate perspective. Any tips or tricks? Right, like I have my own ideas around this, but I just want to see if you had any tips and tricks for them.
Yeah, mil vets, you're top of the list of what employers want. Mil vets, you check every box. Yeah. Like you check all the boxes and thank you for your service. So, and companies see it that way as well. They have affinity groups, we talked about BRGs, that are supportive to mil vets. So if you get a job and you want to stay active duty or what the case may be, blah, blah, they're required to let you off and go do your service, and then your job will still be there when you get back. There's a lot of specific career fairs that's designed specifically for mil vets. 90% of the time they're reaching out to your campus, your career service center on campus, and they're reaching to understand exactly what your mil vet's presence looks like on that campus, or just in general, even if it's a professional. Like there are mil vet recruiters that literally go out and go to these different mil vet career fairs that they have specifically for the armed forces to look for people like you. So definitely make sure you utilize your resources, i.e. on campus or the VA, if they're hosting some type of mil vets career fair, or make sure you go there to look for your next career opportunity.
That's what's up, man. And you know, I'd also like to add on to that is, you know, think about what are your transferable skill sets, right? Although what you do in the military may not be, you know, at
combat.
First, combat, it may not at first seem like it's not something that you can utilize on your resume for a corporation, but you know, let's say like you led a platoon.
Leadership skills.
It's leadership skills.
Box, biggest check box. Huge check.
Right. Being a strong leader, that's a huge check. Right, so just think towards, you know, what are the things that you're doing that could be transferable in nature? Because although you led it in combat, you know, if you can lead it in combat, you can lead it in a cubicle back. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, working cross-functional teams, giving reviews to employees or people you've related, like all those are transferable skills. And especially if you were like a skilled mil vet, like maybe you were an engineer or you did operations, you were in supply chain. Those skills definitely they sell. So definitely make sure they're said and they're written on your resume.
Works well under pressure, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
exactly
skills like that.
Right.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I'm looking at the list down there, and I think we've run through. I don't want to make the video too long, but again, I feel like we can be here for hours.
For sure. So much you can talk about.
There's so much stuff, and it's things that I'm thinking of right now that like I'm like, damn, like we'll just save it for another video.
Part B. That'll be part B. But again, I'm Shif. Man, y'all make sure y'all check me out. The career plug _ on Instagram. Again, the career plug _ on Instagram.
Yo, and keep him on his toes, because like I look on the page sometimes now.
Yeah, I gotta do more.
In the past, he's gonna work on it into the future.
I am.
But go on there, ask him questions, and he'll reach back out to you. It's resources like this that we gotta bubble up in a way to try to help folks that look just like us.
Absolutely. Trying to get one person at a time. That's what we're here for.
There it is. Questions, comments, concerns, leave it down in the description box down below. Shif, again, I appreciate your time, brother.
Absolutely.
Until next time, you two, smack these boys up real quick.